His GPS was still pinging, 12 days after he vanished. Not stationary, moving. Slow, deliberate circles through the gorge. Marcus Webb, 34 years old, former military, experienced mountaineer. The Cherokee have a name for what lives in this gorge. They stopped using it generations ago. I've worked in Nantahala 11 years, 17 hikers gone. Same zone, same weeks of October. Welcome to Trailwatch Tales, where rangers share what we were told to forget. Before this story ends, tell me in the comments where you're watching from tonight, because this gorge has a radius, and if you've hiked Nantahala, you've been inside it. The night Marcus disappeared, his GPS moved 43 miles in 6 hours, on foot. We found his GPS unit, still powered on, wedged into a tree 12 feet off the ground. My name is Ranger Cole Pruitt. I've worked the Nantahala district since 2013. This forest is 531,000 acres of hardwood and hemlock, waterfalls, wild trout streams, ridge trails that go from 1,800 feet to over 5,400 in a single afternoon climb. Most rangers love this posting. The scenery is legitimate. The visitors are generally careful, experienced people, not the Yellowstone crowd. Nantahala attracts serious hikers, people who plan, people who check their gear twice, file their float plans, carry satellite communicators. That's what makes the disappearances so difficult to explain. These aren't inexperienced people wandering off trails. These are the ones who know exactly what they're doing and still never come back. Marcus Webb signed in at the Wesser Creek Trailhead on October 11th at 7:14 in the morning. His plan? A 3-day solo loop, north up to the Bartram Trail, east along the ridge to Wyabald, back down through the gorge. A challenging route, but well within his skill set. He'd done it twice before. The last person to see him was a day hiker who passed him on the approach trail around 9 a.m. Said he seemed totally normal. Said he waved. That was the last confirmed human contact. By October 12th, when he didn't exit at his planned takeout, his emergency contact called us. We ran a standard check first. Maybe he'd camped an extra night. It wasn't until I found his tent that I understood this wasn't a missed exit. His tent was still standing. His pack was inside. His boots were outside the tent door. He had left barefoot. In October, we activated SAR within the hour. 8 searchers, 2 dogs, drone coverage on the ridgelines. The dogs hit his scent at the campsite immediately, strong, fresh, and then the trail just stopped, 20 meters from his tent, in a clearing. Both dogs sat down and refused to move forward. I've worked with those dogs for 4 years. They don't quit. They've tracked through rain, through rivers, through a wildfire perimeter. They sat in that clearing and they would not move. One of them, Coda, a Belgian Malinois who I have never seen show fear in 4 years of service, pressed himself against my leg and wouldn't look toward the tree line. The handler pulled him out. The other dog followed immediately. We continued on foot without them. Looking back on that decision now, I understand why the dogs stopped. I wish we had listened. We found his satellite communicator at 1400 hours, 6 miles north of camp, sitting in the middle of the Bartram Trail, standing upright. Someone, or something, had placed it vertically in the dirt, antenna pointing straight up. It had sent one emergency ping that morning at 3:47 a.m., coordinates placing him 3 miles off any trail in terrain that doesn't have a route. No message, just the ping. When we retrieved the device and pulled the full log back at the station, we found something the emergency ping had flagged but nobody had processed yet. The communicator had received an incoming text message at 3:46 a.m., 1 minute before the emergency beacon fired. The message was from Marcus's own device number, sent to itself. The message said 4 words: "Don't look for me." I pulled the satellite carrier records 3 times. That message was genuinely sent from his device, the device we were holding in our hands. I need to tell you what this area is. The Nantahala Gorge is a fracture, a deep cut in the Blue Ridge where the land drops nearly 2,000 feet in under a mile. The Cherokee called it Nantahala, land of the noonday sun, because the gorge is so deep, sunlight only reaches the river for a brief window each day. The rest of the time, it lives in shadow. Before European contact, certain sections of the gorge were considered permanently off-limits, not hunting grounds, not seasonal restrictions, permanently forbidden. The Cherokee elder I spoke to, a man named Raymond Arch, whose family has lived in this area for generations, told me about the Uktena, a great horned serpent from Cherokee cosmology, said to inhabit certain deep water passages and mountain passages. Raymond said the old people didn't consider the Uktena a story, they considered it a protocol. You didn't enter certain places because something lived there and acknowledged your presence, and acknowledgement had consequences. On day 4 of the search, I found the footprints. Barefoot, as expected, matching Marcus's size. They led north along the riverbank for approximately 2 miles before entering the water. That's where they ended. But here is the detail that didn't make the official report. Every 4th footprint was wrong. Not irregular, wrong. The weight distribution was inverted. In a normal footprint, a human being lands heel first and pushes off the ball of the foot. These prints, every 4th step showed the opposite, the ball of the foot landing hard, the heel barely touching. Not an injury. Not a gait adaptation. We had a biomechanics consultant review the cast we made. Her exact words were, "Whatever made every 4th of these prints was not walking the way a human walks. It was mimicking human walking. And it was getting better at it as the trail progressed. The last 20 prints before the river, indistinguishable from human. Whatever it was, it had learned." I went back alone on day 9. I don't recommend that decision. I went at 2 a.m. because the GPS coordinates were still pinging, and I had convinced myself that if I could just reach the location, just get eyes on whatever the device was, I could close this. I followed the river 2 miles north, crossed the shallows below White Oaks Flats, and began the climb toward the coordinate. At 3:22 a.m., I smelled something. Animal, but processed somehow. Like something biological that had been wrong for a long time. Then the temperature dropped. Not gradually, all at once, a wall of cold moving through the trees from the north. I stopped walking. I turned off my flashlight, instinct, not training. In the darkness, at the edge of what my eyes could resolve, maybe 60, 70 meters through the trees, I saw something standing. It was tall, taller than anything I have a name for, and it was completely still, not hiding, not moving, aware. I stood there for what my radio log later told me was 11 minutes. I did not move, it did not move. And then my radio crackled. Static. Then a voice, my own voice, coming from somewhere to my left, from the darkness, not from my radio. My own voice saying my name. Not a recording quality, live, present. The inflection was almost right. Almost. The way someone says a word in a language they've just learned. Technically correct, slightly wrong. I turned toward the sound. The sheep in the trees was gone. I turned back. Nothing where it had been. I ran. I will not use more professional language than that. I ran. I made it to the river in 8 minutes on terrain that should have taken 25. I don't remember the crossing. I woke up on the south bank at dawn, soaked, with no memory of the water. My radio log showed no transmission during those 11 minutes, but the timestamp gap is there. 11 minutes of my log are simply missing. Marcus Webb was never found. The official report lists him as presumed deceased, accidental cause. The GPS unit was logged as evidence and then quietly lost in the system. The footprint casts were destroyed in what was documented as a storage facility flood. Raymond Arch stopped returning my calls after I told him what I'd seen in the forest. The biomechanics consultant moved to a different state 6 weeks after filing our report. She didn't respond to my follow-up. I still work the Nantahala district. I still walk those trails. Some things you cannot step away from, because stepping away doesn't mean it steps away from you. October comes every year. The GPS coordinates still exist in my personal log, still in that same radius. I have never gone back at night. I have never told anyone at the district office what I saw. But here is the thing that keeps me awake on October nights when the forest goes quiet and the temperature drops without reason. Marcus's GPS stopped moving on day 22. It didn't go dark. It stopped moving, and it has never moved again. It still pings from the same location every single day. Whatever is out there, it stayed.